I'm thinking so too. Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Now would be a great time for you to check in on your social media, and once you've done that, if you could please ensure that your phone is turned down or off, that would be great. I'd like at this time to ask Kurt Church to come to the podium to deliver our reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to refrain. Good day, my fellow Rotarians. We're about to hear from a magnificent organization in the Greater Toledo Community Foundation that has promoted giving for the last 50 years. The legacy of financial gifts has touched many lives within our community, promoting initiatives near and dear to many of us. I want to talk to you today about the little choices that make up successful giving to others. When we think about giving, we imagine grand gestures and significant acts of charity. But I want to remind you that true giving lies in the smallest of choices we make every day. Every moment presents us an opportunity to positively impact someone's life. It's the choice to offer a kind word to a stranger, to lend a helping hand to a friend in need, to express gratitude to those who have supported us. These seemingly insignificant choices may appear trivial, but their cumulative effect is immeasurable. Let me give you an example. I recently talked to Ken Wilkowicz, who is dedicated to MESA and its goal to supply the Ukrainian people with medical supplies to ease the suffering caused by war. From that conversation, I spoke to President-elect Travis Tangeman about getting a message, which you should all have received on Friday, to the whole of Rotary Club for help. Due to changes in rules of what the Ukraine would accept, expired medical supplies had to be sorted from the unexpired. I don't know the final total of those who offered to help on short notice, but I do know that our own member, Mark Arudia, drove out to Fostoria to lend a hand. Thank you, Mark. I haven't seen you today, but thank you very much. Successful giving starts with kindness. It's the choice to be compassionate, to show respect and consideration to everyone we encounter. A small act of kindness can brighten someone's day, inspire them, and restore faith in humanity. Kindness is a language understood by all, and through this choice, we create a ripple effect of goodwill. Generosity is an important choice that contributes to successful giving by sharing yourself with others. It's the choice to listen actively, to offer support, and to celebrate their successes. Those choices strengthen relationship, build trust, and create a sense of belonging. Another example. Friday required a group of volunteers at the Foundation Advisory Committee meeting to decide on grant applications, knowing that the ask was greater than the ability to give. We shared our time and expertise while creating a successful outcome for the chosen recipients. Travis took a nice photo, celebrated on social media by sharing that photo as one of his favorite days of the year. That embodies the group's generosity. Sorry to pick on you twice, President-elect. Yeah, successful giving is not measured by the grandness of our actions, but by the little choices we make every day. Those interactions are an opportunity to make a difference. Let us choose to be the source of kindness, the catalyst for generosity, and the beacon of support in the lives of others. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You're welcome.
Thank you, Kurt. And thank you for anyone who did make it down to Fostoria to help out with Mesa. I'd like to thank Keith Burwell and the Greater Toledo Community Foundation for being this month's meeting sponsor. Thank you, Keith. And if anyone has any guests with them today, if you could take them to the floor mic and introduce them, that would be great.
Hello, President Cindy. Good afternoon. Today I have with me two different guests. The first being Tina Robinson from Butterflies 15. Thank you for joining us. This is our first time here at Rotary. The second guest would be Milva Wagner, the Executive Director from the Center the Center for Nonprofit Resources here in Toledo, and she is a visiting member from the Maumee Rotary Club.
All right, welcome to you both.
President Cindy, I would like to introduce my friends and associates at Communique, Amy Fitzenreiter and Jessica Hober.
All right, thank you. Welcome to you both.
Good afternoon, President Cindy. I have with me today David Zelenka, who has joined us at UTMC. He is the Associate Vice President of our foundation and has just recently relocated up from Florida. Thanks.
Welcome, David.
Broke it. Here we go. All right. President Cindy, my pleasure to introduce Megan Kassiri. She is the new president of the Employers Association and the former administrator of Lucas County, and also very much responsible for what the Glass City Center looks like here now, when she did her time at the Lucas County as the Lucas County administrator.
Welcome, Megan. Thank you. We hope to see all of you around here a little bit more. Thank you for joining us today. I'm happy to say we are going to be introducing two new members today. Could I first have Hannah Arno and Louise Jackson please join me at the podium?
Hi, everybody. I'd like to introduce Hannah Arnold. Hannah joined the probate and estate planning section at Eastman and Smith last August, and she became a new lawyer, got sworn in October. She loves sports, particularly football and basketball, and likes to play volleyball. She likes to watch reality TV, and she also likes to read a good book, and I asked her today, well, what's a good book? And she keeps in tabs with bestsellers. She's also Mark Urudia. You know how Mark is, how persuasive he is. She's been drawn into Rotaract already, so she's really off and running. She joined Rotary to get more involved with the community and to give back. She grew up in the Toledo area, and I found by different events that we've gone to, Hannah knows everybody. It's just I go to introduce her to somebody, and she already knows them. So anyway, she's good. She is married to Christopher. They have two crazy golden doodles, and I don't know what those are, but anyway. So please welcome Hannah Arnold to Rotary. Thank you.
And now if Mike Deach and Susan Palmer could join us.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It is my pleasure to introduce Mike Deach to Rotary. Mike and his family moved to Toledo from Lexington, Kentucky in 2013 when he was appointed when he joined the staff, I should say, at the Toledo Museum of Art. He was then Assistant Director of Education. In 2015, he was named the Emma Leah Bippus Director of Education and Engagement at the museum. In that position, he oversaw the docent program, oh my, all those docents, art classes, and museum curriculum. Most recently, Mike was appointed Director of Development for the museum, now making him responsible for all of the museum's fundraising efforts. Prior to joining the staff at the TMA, Mike served as Senior Museum Educator at the Brooklyn Museum of Art. He was the Exhibitions and Programs Director at the Lexington Art League and the Student Programs Manager at the Kentucky Historical Society. Mike has served on a variety of committees, including as a grants reviewer for the National Endowment of the Arts and the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences. In 2012, he was selected to participate in the Getty Leadership Institute's prestigious Next Gen program. Mike received his BA in Art Education from the Pratt Institute and his MS in Art Education from the Pratt Institute and his BA in Art History from Hanover College in Hanover, Indiana. Mike lives in Old Orchard with his darling wife, Emily, and their two crazy children, Ethan and Cassidy. He's very busy. Mike's pet peeve is when people use the term craft for arts projects. President Cindy and fellow Rotarians, please welcome Mike Deach. It's not a craft. Thank you.
Welcome, Hannah and Mike. I look forward to getting to know you more both in the upcoming months. At this time, I'd like to call Karen Strammel to the podium for a 6-month badge change. Time is flying, Karen.
Having fun.
Take that one and just toss it down there. Get this one. There you go. There you go. We'll try to catch Crystal and Zara at another meeting, upcoming meeting. I'd like to take a minute to recognize a few other individuals who have been in our club for quite a long time. With 20-plus years, we have Joe Sharp, Edward Ryder, and Jim Slattery. With 30-plus years, we have Ken Coleman, Tom Euler, past President Hunt Sears, and past President Alex Dew, who has 18 years in our club and 14 years in the West Toledo Rotary Club. How about we give them all a round of applause? At this time, I'd like to begin a review of the proposed membership dues increase. Many of you may have seen something about this in the spoke, but on your tables, there are some handouts that go over our financial statements and our budget for next year. So we are doing this at the recommendation of the Finance Committee and the Board of Directors, and we need a motion to approve this increase from our members. So if you take a chance, I know it's kind of quick, but to kind of review that. The club has not had an increase in membership dues since 2013, so it's been 10 years. And if we do not move to approve these proposed increases, we are projecting a budget deficit of nearly $47,000 for next year. If we do approve them, we'll be down to $4,000, but we think that we can overcome that with some different sponsorships and miscellaneous revenue. So what the big ask is that for members under 40, the increase is $25. a year for your membership. It goes from $275 to $300. And for members over 40, it is a $50 increase from $550 to $600. May I have a motion to approve the proposed dues as listed? Anyone in the crowd? Judy? Cindy Curd, a second. Is there any conversation, discussion? Awesome. All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, we have now passed it. So for starting in July, the increases will be as stated. Jackie will be sending out the invoices for membership for next year sometime around the end of this month, first part of June. So keep your eyes peeled for those, and we look forward to seeing you all here next year. Thank you very much for that. And now, if I could have Jim Lehman come to the podium to introduce Keith Burwell, who is our speaker for today.
Thank you, President Cindy. Today it is my distinct pleasure to introduce one of our own as our speaker today. Keith Burwell has been a member since 2004. He's a Paul Harris Fellow and a member of our President's Club. He's served us on the Finance and Audit Committees, the Foundation Advisory Committee, and the Program Committee. In his professional career, Keith is the president of Greater Toledo Community Foundation, a position he has held since February of 2004. He currently oversees an annual grants program averaging $20 million in grants and an annual asset development program averaging $20 million in new assets each year. As Greater Toledo Community Foundation, or at Greater Toledo Community Foundation, it's kind of dark in here. In addition to leading a staff of 19 in their primary role of responsive grant maker, he has led his team in a variety of other civic roles such as educator, catalyst, and convener on key community issues, making available his expertise and that of his professional staff to a wide range of community efforts. His foundation team directs annual grant making and gifting in the region, making Greater Toledo Community Foundation the largest philanthropic organization in Northwest Ohio. To help secure the future for our children and grandchildren, Keith has taken a leadership role and is collaborating with partners on several initiatives, including the Old Jeep Neighborhood Overland Solar Project and Tutor Smart, high-quality pre-K programming, and other education initiatives. He currently serves on the boards of the Imagination Station, Regional Growth Partnership, Philanthropy Ohio, is a member of the Chronicle of Philanthropy Advisory Committee, chair of the Ohio Community Foundation CEO Committee, and was appointed a member of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cincinnati's inaugural Community Advisory Council. Along the education road, Keith has attained 3 degrees, bachelor's, master's, and PhD, as well as a number of certificates in both the business and nonprofit world. He's married to Susan Burwell. They have 2 adult children, a son, Blake, and a daughter, Candace, and 2 grandchildren. You know him, you love him. Please join me in a warm welcome for Keith Burwell.
I'll let the love part go. What I want to do today is, I want to talk about the 50th anniversary of the foundation, but as important as that may be, I want to answer any questions you have about the Community Foundation and how we work with Rotary. So when we get to that section, ask questions. I encourage you to do that because part of the reason I'm here is to let you know what we are doing, how we're helping, and what that means for Rotary. Those questions came up regarding the Rotary Foundation when I served on the board and on the foundation board. So they're not new questions. We're just taking that role now from where other institutions did it in the past to help Rotary. And I hope we have expanded it. We are, in fact, now let's see if I can get this to work. Oh, it's got to be turned on? That'd be smart, wouldn't it? All right, come here and show me how, is it right here? It is on. Hey! I'm not as dumb as I look. I heard that. The Greater Toledo Community Foundation was actually formed in the 1920s by 11 different banks that looked over to Cleveland, which was the first community foundation in the nation, and said, we need one of those. Then the Great Depression hit. In fact, if you read the history book that we just put out last week, 9 of those 11 banks went under during the Depression, but the Community Foundation is still here. It sat dormant as a legal entity for many, many years until the Truhan family, which many of you probably have heard the name before, the last descendant passed away, and that estate then moved to the Community Foundation and established us in 1973, not just as a legal entity, but as an entity with assets that could start doing things. And we're celebrating the fact that that event occurred, and we have been in the community for over 50 years now. I will tell you a little piece of history. We had that event occur, and we were challenged by a local bank and by what now you'd know as United Way. It wasn't United Way then. Unfortunately, probate court said, yes, we're a legal entity. And yes, that money should go to the Community Foundation. And yes, after that happened, we pushed forward. And we've now, throughout this year, been celebrating 50 years of that activity by celebrating each month a different activity and by making additional grants than what we normally do of at least $50,000 a month to celebrate that 50 years. It's probably better for me to let you see it than me tell it. So I have a short video.
50 years of funding futures. For all of us at the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, this monumental milestone represents a half-century of making an immeasurable impact, of partnering up for the greater good and creating a better community for generations to come. Now, 50 years later, we're celebrating our golden anniversary with a year-long calendar of programs and events to honor you, our beloved community. We're the Greater Toledo Community Foundation, and making Toledo greater is all that has ever mattered.
Our mission is building community. Jokingly, we like to say we fund everything from Alzheimer's to the zoo, which is a cute way of saying A to Z, because there's every aspect of the community that we touch and help to build.
So we have about $435 million of assets today in the foundation. Since our inception, we have contributed $290 million from 900 funds.
Of those 900 funds, they're created by farmers, they're created by teachers, they're created by firemen, by just people like you and I who work in the community every single year. I mean, we've been adding over $20 million a year to the assets that allows us then to put that back into the community.
The Community Foundation has really been a solid partner in helping us maintain our base and expand and provide greater impact to the community as we've grown over the years. And we work throughout Northwest Ohio to preserve and enhance and improve natural habitats and family farms for the benefit of current and future generations.
I believe that the Greater Toledo Community Foundation has been a leader in funding innovation, doing their due diligence, looking at programs that actually work, and funding programs that are rooted in actual quality.
Nobody has a better pulse on the community, the needs of the community, and being able to align, the resources that are here, develop partnerships within that, and be able to drive pathways to provide support where it's needed most.
It's great to have partners like the Community Foundation who have consistently found ways to identify resources that can help us advance the work of early childhood education.
Health and Human Services area, education, equity, all of these things and more are areas in which Greater Toledo Community Foundation has actually made investments to help those on the front lines doing the work to actually be equipped to bring about impactful results in our community.
I view the Greater Toledo Community Foundation as the gem that allows individuals' dreams come to reality.
But I think it goes deeper than just providing fundings.
We're encouraging collaboration across other nonprofits, create partnerships, eliminate redundancy.
I think the thing that it's most important for an average Toledoan to know is that there's a group of a couple of dozen dedicated people who live and breathe for this community, who are spending every day trying to figure out how to connect resources to making your lives better.
Greater Toledo Community Foundation has been a lifeline for our organization. Connecting kids to meals would not be here, and that's not an understatement.
There's a good chance there would not be a Northwest Ohio Pathways Hub if it wasn't for the Greater Toledo Community Foundation. Women and families have access to a community health worker to help address health and social needs.
They've been with us since the beginning. Tremendous information, access, and the way that they are advocates for science education, but also Toledo completely.
Solar Array Project is expected to produce electricity for over 25 years, producing over $5 million of revenue stream for community redevelopment.
The Greater Toledo Community Foundation has funded us with our Elevate program, supporting us in Toledo Public Schools, and most recently, supporting our expansion into Sylvania and Washington local schools.
A portion of our funding every year to be able to keep this place beautiful and alive and thriving comes from that Field of Interest Fund every year. And we're so grateful to the Toledo Community Foundation for providing a space where donors can put some of their wealth aside for causes that they care about.
If we're going to approach the Community Foundation for any level of support, we have to have a strong case and strong empirical evidence to validate the request. Philanthropy is serious work. Keith sometimes says it's the true risk capital, and I think that's the way the Community Foundation comports itself, and it's certainly the nature of the strong relationship that the museum and the Community Foundation have.
As we look ahead to our next half century, we're doing so with our community in mind. Together, we can improve the quality of life in our region. Together, we're stronger and more innovative. Together, we are greater.
If there's one part of that mission and one part of that message that everyone should understand, is that you can participate. We've been blessed to be here, so let's help those that come behind us and beyond us to be blessed as well. When you look at that, I don't really need to say anything else. That just tells you what we do and how we do it. But I will give you a few details. And I should say that we have several of our folks with us. I know Mike and Articia are down in Melva. Is there anybody else from the foundation here? Okay. If you have questions when I'm done, talk to them. Just to give you an idea of where we're going this year, and then we'll talk about the foundation. We're into May, so I will say last week we had a history book reveal of that 50 years, and we had a reception for aspiring and young leaders in our community to come. We're handing that book out now. It's a very interesting read. You get a lot of flavor of the leaders within this community and how they help build where we're at today in Toledo. When we get into June, which is next month, I can't believe it's next week, we're doing a Mud Hens game and youth baseball sports clinics across the community. The Mud Hens games where we're going to be, and if you're a nonprofit leader, you'll get this message soon. We're going to provide tickets to a Sunday game for the Mud Hens just to celebrate nonprofits within our community. It will be a nonprofit day at the Mud Hens for that particular day. And then throughout the month of June, there will be baseball clinics throughout the neighborhoods in Toledo with the Mud Hens helping to carry that out. We get into July, there was 4 different concerts we're sponsoring throughout the month of July. You'll see those at the Glass City Metro Parks, the new one over here in the Promenade Park, Ottawa Park, and Botanical Gardens. 4 different types of music, so we're trying to touch everybody's flavor on what they like to listen to for a celebration in July. And in fact, the one in the beginning of July is at the Glass City Metro Park is going to be the 1st of July, and we'll be able to view the fireworks, city fireworks that night from the Glass City Metro Parks, which is going to be right across from it. Then we get into August, and we're having a roofing project with Habitat. Michael couldn't be here. It was a funeral he had to attend, and a rock to block. So we're going to attempt to put at least 20 roofs on houses in the old South End. And then the rock to block idea is where you close down a couple blocks and you clean up those blocks. Trying as one, to provide new roofs for our elderly and our veterans, but then 2, to do a demonstration model of the impact of showing entire blocks redeveloped with roofs, as opposed to just one here, one there, one over there, where you don't see the big impact altogether. I'm doing this rather quickly. In September, we're doing a STEAM Day with the Imagination Stations, National Museum of Great Lakes, and Toledo Museum of Arts, where we're going to have provide free education programming for children all day on that Saturday, and we're going to provide transportation to and from. October is a boat ride down to Maumee and celebrating the skyline of Toledo. We're doing the same thing in November with Walleye. We'll have another nonprofit day for if you enjoy hockey more than you do baseball. We're going to do the same identical thing with the Walleye game. And then in November, December, we're going to put lights on. If you look at the new entrance off of the trail, there's some trees there, that little park coming off of the trail, that are perfect for lighting. So we're going to donate lights to the city. They're going to light it, and then we're going to have a giving tree so that the citizenry can look online, choose a nonprofit they would like to donate to for a specific issue, and we'll have that giving tree running through the end of November into December. So all that's to say, we've been around for 50 years, and we're trying to do our best to serve the community and celebrate who we are, but we keep pushing. The first question I get a lot of times, what is a community foundation? I'm not going to insult your intelligence by reading this word for word for you, but it's basically we're a public charity, and we're dedicated to helping grow community in a specific geographical location. So unlike some foundations you may hear about, like the Ford Foundation, that covers the entire United States and actually the world, the Greater Toledo Community Foundation only works in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. That's our geographical area. Now, we make grants afar, but the mission is this area. This is some statistics, which you heard in the video. We started in '73. We say founded because the legal piece of paper didn't do anything. We're a 501c3, which adds a greater benefit to putting an asset in the foundation than it does a private foundation. We have quite a few people that come to us and said, I thought about creating a private foundation. Well, if you look at the tax consequences of that, you get a better tax donation by using a community foundation than you would by creating a private foundation. And those assets are made up of over 1,000 different individual funds now, because they keep growing, even from when the video was made. And we have distributed $25 million in grants and scholarships, between $20 and $25 million in 2022, on an annual basis, it's easier to say. We're led by a nonprofit volunteer board of trustees that provide overhead governance for 4 different departments, which we call program, which is where we make grants, philanthropic services, where we help create funds, finance, where they deal with that third leg of that stool, and then our communications, which Joanne would be all over me. If you want to know where we give our money every year of that 20 plus million, the huge chunk of it always goes to health and human services. That's the gray, and I'm not going to read all, but and then education follows, economic development, what we call economic development follows that. So I have repeatedly said, if we can solve all the problems that we have in Toledo, I'm ready to retire tomorrow. But you can see by that big gray area, I don't think that's happening tomorrow. But we keep pushing, and keep pushing. All right. This is a really big picture. As we like to say it, We have donors who come in and create, and the donors are individuals, corporations, private foundations, and charitable organizations that create funds at the community foundation. We take every type of asset you could think of. We've taken everything, as I say, cattle to a TV station. For a typical nonprofit, I would not suggest they take either one. Cattle is a commodity. The price changes every nanosecond. And a TV station is so regulated, all I did while we owned it was fill out paperwork. So, but everything in between we have taken. You may have read in the paper just a few weeks ago where we accepted at the end of last year Bedford Hills Golf Course, and we just sold that. And that asset then has been rolled into a fund at the Community Foundation. We work with a lot of small business folks who have a lot of assets inside of their small company, and their company is growing, I'm just making this up, 10% a year. And then they donate 2% of those shares back to us, which we then sell back to the company. And that's a way of getting money out of the company and putting back into a fund that can be given away. So we're very, very creative in how we do that. It's not people, just so you're clear, people don't walk into the office with just suitcases of money. We'll take it, but it doesn't happen. Once the fund's in place, you can see all the different type of funds, whether it's a designated fund for a particular organization, a donor advised fund, which acts like a small foundation for each individual or family. And I will tell you, I've never asked anybody to do something I haven't. I have 2 donor advised funds, one in honor of my mom and dad, and one for Susan and myself. That's where we do our community giving through. It's easy and simple for me because it means I can make one gift into one big fund. It tracks everything for me. I see my history, I see the reports, and I can pull and clean that out. And it's also online for me. When it gets to, we also have organizational endowments, field of interest. So if there's a particular area that someone would like to see addressed, we create a fund in that. And then unrestricted, which is where it just goes through the regular competitive grant cycle that we have. The investment side of it, you'll see that we have fiduciary responsibility for every dollar that comes into the foundation. And I'm going to show you in a minute our asset allocation. We keep it simple. We don't try to chase Apple. We don't try to chase GM. We don't try to chase Twitter. We buy index funds, and we stay in index funds, and we follow the market, which means when the market is extremely hot, we may leave a few dollars on the table. But it also means when the market is really lousy, we're not losing our shirts at the same time. We use a 20-quarter look-back process for that, and I will tell you that the last recession, 07-08, we gave away every scholarship, and we made the same number of grants that we always have because of that. When we went through COVID, our numbers were actually up in COVID. Our auditors were shocked when we did a historical look back, which we just finished the audit. We're about to present it to the board. Our numbers were up during COVID because of the systems that we have in place and what we do at the foundation. I don't know how I did that. And this is why, I'm not going to read this to you, but I want you to see the reason that people come to us is because we offer that benefit, and we have been here and we're going to be here. That we're not a fly-by-night. We're not going to displace trust in every donor, because if we do, there's a run on the bank. If you put money in us and then we don't honor your trust in what you're trying to do for the community, everybody in town will be coming to get their money. They'll want it spent out. This is just another piece of the history here. I'm trying to go through this quickly so we can get to we vet nonprofits, then we support nonprofits, and then we connect nonprofits. The Melva's with the Center for Nonprofit Resources. I can tell you, anybody have an idea how many nonprofits we have in Lucas County? Try again, higher, he said 2,200. Over 3,000, and it's going up every day. That's as many, some of you have heard me say this, that's as many nonprofits in Lucas County as there is in Cleveland, as there is in Cincinnati, as there is in Columbus, as there is in Indianapolis. But we're not near that in population base. So we're asking our population to support more nonprofits than we frankly have the assets for. So we work very hard on that connecting nonprofits piece through Melva and through programs at the Community Foundation so we can have collaboration. The other reason we do that is because we are a firm believer there is, and this is not as good a term as it used to be, there's no silver bullet. It's going to take, not one organization is going to solve the problem by themselves. It's going to take collaboration between multiple organizations to tackle a problem. So you'll see a lot of what we do and a lot of the grants that come out, we're pushing for that collaboration. How do you partner up with those within the community so it can really begin to address that problem? You saw some of that in the video. Our team helped identify that, sets the goals, and we've helped fulfill that mission of building a better community. This is what we want you to remember. And everybody can read that, right? I didn't realize how very little that was. Our mission is to create a lasting legacy to build a better community. Okay? And I paraphrase that. And we do that through now, people creating funds, and we do that through estate plans. Because, again, I'm not asking anybody to do what I'm doing. We set something up for my son and my daughter, and we've told them we're going to make you happy, but we're not going to make you unbearably rich because we're going to help the community. And then we're giving back through our estate plan. This is where Rotary comes in. I've been asked a lot, what's our asset allocation? This is a little bit bigger for you to see. We basically buy short-term bonds, 5-year, and you can see all the way down. We buy the entire market, okay? And we do that on an 80-20 plan. Some people go, 80-20? That flies in my face. I've always been taught it's 60-40, 70-30 at the most. This is not an asset development plan for retirement. This is an asset development plan for perpetuity. So what we're looking at is what in the history, and Ron Bowler, if you remember Ron Bowler who created Harbor Funds, has helped us a lot to understand, in the end, you're going to win bigger in the market than you are with bonds. And boy, in the last 6 years, has that ever been proven more? If you want to know if we were negative anywhere, it's in that top few bars. So we purposely buy index funds looking to reach out into perpetuity, not for a retirement point 30 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 15 years from now. Here's what we do for Rotary, and this is the most important part of the day, because I'm happy to celebrate our 50th. I want you all to come to all the events. We're thrilled about it, and we've been thrilled with every activity and every grant we've made up to this point. But for your purposes, as Rotarians, I want you to see this. You have 3 funds now currently at the Community Foundation. You have one that's the major Rotary Foundation Fund that grants are made out. You heard about the advisory committee that just met. You have a second one that's transformational grants, which is a little smaller. And then you have a third that's a designated fund for PI, Partners in Education. Of those 3, the ones that we really work with, PI is an annual distribution. Of those 3, we do for the top 2, gift processing for Rotary, which means all types of gifts that come in on that big long list and others, we process those for Rotary. We send the receipt letter, the tax letter. We do the then allocation into the fund, and it gets allocated into the investment pool. Frankly, the Rotary office doesn't have to do a thing on that. We take all types of the gifts, whether it's credit card or a physical asset, and then once that occurs and it gets to the foundation side, we have an online grant application for anyone to apply for the Rotary funds, and they're using that online process. That online process allows us then, as an organization, the Community Foundation, to vet every organization that comes in. We sift out those that geographically don't fit. Once you put a grant application online, trust me, you'll have people applying from Mozambique. We vet those out. We then vet to make sure they're actually a 501c3. We take those and then parse those into the committee levels, and then send those over to the Rotary office and to the community chairs. We follow that up then once it goes through the Rotary process, and it's quite a long process of making those grant awards out once we receive authority from the Rotary office to make those grants. We follow up then with those grants proposals and make sure we receive any reports that Rotary is requesting and forward those to the committees and to the Rotary office. In a sense, the Rotary office doesn't have to touch any of this because it's all happening through the Community Foundation. But Rotary is getting credit for all of it. So in the process of doing all this, it's not the Community Foundation saying, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And every aspect of this, Rotary is getting credit for it. We're working in the back office to make this as smooth and as sufficient as possible. The next level is that our staff has helped work with Rotary staff to look at the grant guidelines, to clean them up a little bit and make them easier to read, make them easier to use. I know that the board is looking at that right now, but we're hoping that will make the process even smoother for some organizations that are applying that have had questions. We also vet most of those questions when they do come in, so they're, while I'm sure staff in the Rotary office get questions, we try to help facilitate that and answer any questions they have before it gets to the Rotary office to make it easier and not take the time of the staff for Rotary. I'm going to stop there because I want you, and I am 10 minutes ahead, so I want you to ask questions. I'm happy to keep giving you my spiel on the Community Foundation, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to help answer any questions you might have about what we do and how we're helping Rotary.
I'll go first. Whoa, stay. So I understand that you hold funds for the Rotary Foundation and for a lot of organizations in this city and this area, a lot that I'm familiar with also. Mm-hmm. Those funds remain our funds, not the funds of the Community Foundation. So how do you benefit from that? Do you charge an administrative fee, or is that the process?
Yeah, we have a fee on every fund at the Community Foundation. We don't do fundraising, so we don't do events or galas or golf events or any of the typical stuff. We charge a fee for each fund. Depending on the type of fund, depends on the type of fee. I can tell you our fee is actually less than what we used to be charged by Schwab when you add it all up. Sometimes you have to add it all up. But then provide that back office service to Rotary. Why do we do that? Because of what that video said. Our mission is to make better community. And we're in the business of philanthropy. I can tell you, honestly, you know what it takes to call yourself a philanthropic advisor today? Be able to spell your name right and put it on a letterhead. So we try to provide a venue for folks to come, a trusted venue for folks to come and try to create philanthropy within the community, as I call it, structured philanthropy in the community, to build better community. And so that's one, our mission, and two, the way we help fund that mission is through a fee that's charged on not just the Rotary funds, but every fund within the Community Foundation. And the higher the number, the less that fee becomes. So if you're millions, you're not paying the same as if you're 700,000. Does that make sense? Other questions?
I can speak from experience that their grant process is exemplary. It is streamlined, it's friendly, it's user-friendly, and it's really, really meaningful. So, and I applaud your staff. He's got the most incredible, outstanding staff to work with. I know I can call Chris or Pat or anybody at the drop of a hat, and they are always there at my service, and I deeply appreciate that. My question is, or my request of you, Keith, could you speak to the kind of the community dilemma we have of the extraneous duplication of services in the nonprofit realm in our community? Thanks.
I don't know if there's a perfect answer to the question. I think that we are a very giving community, and sometimes by being a very giving community, we have by accident created an environment where it's very easy to just say create a nonprofit. We meet with individuals all the time who come in and say, God is speaking to me, I need to do this. And our initial response is, I'm happy, but let me find an organization that you should be inside of, because I don't know if the good Lord wanted you to have the overhead it's going to take to get this started. And that's a little bit of a funny play, but yeah, right now, and I don't want to say that we don't need organizations, we do. That's the reason we push for collaboration. We have a program called the Strategic Alliance Partnership where we make grants out of that. depending on the year, can run from 60,000 to 160,000 for organizations to figure out how to play together. I'll give you a couple good examples. When JCC and YMCA wanted to get together out in Sylvania, we actually paid for all that to happen. So we put the teams together and we paid for the lawyers to sit there and help work all that out. When TAPA was formed and the ballet and the symphony came together and now the jazz orchestra is talking, we paid for that interaction and how to figure it out and come together. Because, A, the donor community is saying enough's enough. We can't, let's take the arts. So I'll pick on you a little bit because you stood up. It was, you had the opera, the ballet, the symphony, all the theaters coming and saying, we want the Burwell company to buy an ad in the program. Well, at some point, you're kind of like added out. In this case, you're combining those assets into one, and you're saying to that donor, give us one gift, and we can put it in all of these. It might equal the same number, but frankly, it's just easier to manage. The second is you cut out overhead. You cut out payroll. You cut out additional insurance. All the pieces and parts. For those of you who run a business, that back end overhead. Well, you combine them, you start to cut that out. And it then means more money can actually go to programming. So we push hard, and I wish I could tell you we were extremely successful in that we're reducing that 3,000 number, but they are being produced quicker than we can help lower them. In the end, however, we believe that we're going to be better off if we have those collaborations, and in some cases, like TAPA and ballet, mergers, so that they become one, and we can then begin to tackle problems together. And then with that one organization, they can find another partner and collaborate to even get stronger at fixing a problem. We're looking really hard at pre-K. Many of you have heard this. You saw part of it in the video. One of the realizations of pre-K is that if you take every 4-year-old out of daycare in Toledo, you basically bankrupt every daycare system because that's their bread and butter. Regulatorily, they can have more kids for fewer people than they can ages below that. So we created and you'll hear this celebrated in a few months, a shared services pilot using Hope Toledo as the conduit for that to tell the daycares, let's get together, let's get this group together and run a pilot. Let's do all the back office work over here together and see if we can't save all you money in what you do so that when those 4-year-olds come out, you don't go bankrupt because you have back office work taken out of your responsibility, and you can put that staff person that was doing that running around with like a chicken with a head cut off to helping with the program. So we put $600,000 into that just to create this pilot model to demonstrate how that could work. I'm babbling on. Other questions? Nobody's dying to ask a Rotary question.
This thing is way too tall for short people. I don't have a question, but I don't think it was in your bio, but you are also involved with the Distinguished Clown Corps as the co-chairperson, and I'm the coordinator for that. And the foundation takes care of all of the money for the DCC, and it makes my job so much easier. And so I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you guys do at the foundation, because I am a volunteer. And so to be able to have somebody help me on the money side of things, handling it, they do everything. Like he said for Rotary, they do the same for the Clown Corps. So thank you so much for the foundation and what you guys do.
We have funds for some really unusual things like clowns. All the headlines you saw about painting the silos out here, we were actually the fiscal agent that handled all the money for painting the silos that received national press. And when we do those things like clown, we stay in the background. It's not part of our mission to toot our horn on the front end. Our biggest marketing budget is word of mouth. Many of you in this room have funds with us, and it's you. When you share what you're doing, that's how we expand. I wish I could tell you I had a $10 million marketing budget. I would go nuts with that, but I don't. In fact, Deb here, who's Rotarian and Communique, is helping us with our 50th. And every time we write that check, I have to swallow really hard. But they do a wonderful job, did they not? Other questions?
Just one quick one. It's really a comment, not a question. But part being involved a little bit with the foundation and other foundations, and probably near everybody in this room sits on nonprofits boards, are involved in them. Some of you have foundations in your own companies or organizations, and one of the things that you see here, and one of the reasons that the Community Foundation makes sense, are economies of scale. They can run your back office, they can oversee your investments much cheaper than you can. I know that right now I've heard from a staff person at one of, I think, the top 10 size foundations in the metro area is considering moving their foundation to the Toledo Community Foundation because they know it's cheaper for the Toledo Community Foundation to run it. And if you have a relatively small foundation, all of a sudden those expense fees are big. I'm familiar with one that was probably, well, I don't know, it was reasonably small. They had to be spending at least 35% of their income on fees every year. Whereas with the Toledo Community Foundation, I would say virtually, maybe there's one out there. I'm not sure anybody who's running their own foundation today wouldn't be cheaper. And I know that big one is saying, if we move ours to the Toledo Community Foundation, we can spend at least tens of thousands of dollars a year more on our mission instead of just expenses managing our own money in back office.
Thank you, Bob. I'm buying him lunch later, just so you know.
Hold on one second, Keith. Congratulations on the 50 years, and it's really nice to see all of the good that you guys are doing in the community, and I learned a lot more things during this presentation. And I want to thank your staff that are here because it has been a pretty smooth transition, at least where I've been involved, between your staff and Jackie to try to keep this grant process moving forward, so thank you very much. In honor of your time here, I'd like to give you a book, Historical Tales of Toledo. Not sure if you have one already or not, but if not, share it with your staff. Here's another, and we'll be making a donation to the Polio Plus Fund in your name. Thank you. Thank you. As a reminder, there'll be no meeting next week in lieu of Memorial Day, and we'll be back here on June 5th, which we'll be all getting updated on the current transformational projects that we have going, lead abatement, water, and pre-K. We would really appreciate if you could all show up, because at some point, once you hear about what they have been doing and what we're going to be doing going forward, we will need to have all of you vote again on whether we continue with the current projects we have and what the future holds for that. So if you can all make it on June 5th, that would be awesome. There are no committee meetings today, and I appreciate you all being here today. Get out and enjoy the weather, and this meeting is adjourned.